Well. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Joy Reid Show. Happy middle of the week. We appreciate everybody who is in the chat. We already see you guys jumping in and saying hello and chatting amongst yourselves. Big ups to everybody that is listening on YouTube, Substack, Facebook. Watch out for them trolls. You know, they like to stick on Facebook. Twitch. Hello to our Twitchies on Twitch. They are small in number, but very, very mighty. Also, if you're listening on LinkedIn, we still don't have a name for the LinkedInies. We got to figure out something like that. We'll figure it out. But also, if you're listening on an audio platform, don't feel unappreciated. We appreciate you just as much. We love everyone equally. Thank you all for tuning in. I want to remind you guys that it's our birthday all month. We're just celebrating our birthday. We are a June birthday fam, and we are just going to celebrate all month long. So if you want to get this fabulous Juneteenth t-shirt, it is almost Juneteenth. We are 2 days away from Juneteenth. It's Juneteenth Eve. And we have 4 different fabulous Juneteenth t-shirts. This is just one of the 4. If you want to pick up your own version of it, you can go on shop.thejoyreidshow.com and just use the code BIRTHDAY. And we're a Gemini show. Our show is a Gemini. We're a Gemini. So we do either really good news or really bad news. But use the code BIRTHDAY and you can get yourself 15% off. Don't forget to sign up to get on our Run Me My Slush Money team. Just use the QR code to sign up for the Run Me My Slush Money mailing list. And what you can do when you're on that mailing list is you will get updates on if they restart the reparations fund that was for January 6ers. Donald Trump has not given up on giving reparations to his goon squad, but if they're giving out money, we want to make sure that money's given out to the regular people, particularly if you are African American. This is like your reparations, so we need to get that, or don't give it out at all. Don't give it out at all. That would be the preference. It's illegal. And we also want to make sure that you access those letters, which you can download directly from rubbingmyslushmoney.com and shoot a letter to your United States senators and to your members of Congress. It's already pre-written, polite, ready to go with your signature saying, hey, not only do not give our money to January 6th insurrectionists, and please restore the Capitol to the way it was when Donald Trump got there. We're adding that to the letter. We want the Capitol physically restored to the way it was when he got there. Let's say hello to Jason. Hey, Jason, how you doing? Jason doesn't want to say hello to us yet. He'll say hello to us later. Let me note that let's say hi to our. Oh, you there?
I am. I just had to get my my act together. I'm here trying to produce the show. You called me out of the blue, so I had to get everything together. I'm good. What's
okay. Up? You never know when I'm going to call on you.
No, I know.
You just stay ready. You don't have to get ready. We always want to see Jason. So good evening,
I'm
Jason.
trying to stay ready, but I got 1, 2, 3. I got so much stuff to do right here, Ben. So
you got a lot to do.
Here.
All right.
Yeah.
Back into the lab.
I'm going back into the lab. Bye-bye.
Into the lab. And our lead sponsor tonight is...
Celebrations don't start with the clinking of glasses. They start with ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol, a probiotic you take before your first drink, so you can enjoy the night and wake up ready. ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol, the science behind your next great morning.
Yes, that's it. ZBiotics, our good friends at ZBiotics. Okay, fam, you know, I would love to tell you that I am one of those aunties that can just like go ahead and sippity sip throughout the night and then wake up fresh as a daisy the next morning and get going and moving and grooving. That is not true. And so that is why we are very happy that ZBiotics is our sponsor for our show tonight. Because when I was in my 20s, I could literally be in the club all night and be at work at 9 o'clock in the morning and feel great. No problem. Could have a sip. But now I really actually do need a little help. And what I love about ZBiotics, it is a pre-alcohol probiotic drink that is the world's first genetically engineered prebiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Now, here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in your gut. It's a buildup of that byproduct, not dehydration, that is actually what's to blame for rough days after drinking. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break that byproduct down. So just remember to make pre-alcohol your first drink of the night, drink responsibly, and you will feel your best in the next morning. And you guys know, I've told you this story before. I got down with the prebiotic during New Year's because the very next day after New Year's we had a show. Not only did I have to be here present for the Joy Reid show, we actually were covering the inaugural of the mayor of New York City. So we had to be sharp. We had to be fresh. We had to be ready to go. Thank God for Z-Biotics. And so it's my go-to now. And I made sure that if I have my security, the thing I have before security is my Z-Biotics. Between weddings, the U.S. Open, and the first real lake weekend of the year, which some people are enjoying, June barely leaves Saturday open. Do not have a rough morning after, and don't let that cost you your Sunday. Drink pre-alcohol to stay ahead of it and make the most of every weekend this month. Remember to head to zbiotics.com. That is zbiotics.com/joy. And use the code JOY at checkout for 15% off. We love that. All right, y'all. So I want to let you all know what we'll be doing tomorrow. The Knicks NBA championship game. Oh, by the way, before I get to what we're doing tomorrow, let me note for you and note for Donald Trump, who's I think probably real mad about it. The Knicks NBA championship game to 24.5 million viewers. It was the most watched finals in almost 30 years. 30 years. And of course, the question remains open whether the Knicks are going to actually go to the White House, particularly after the way that the White House grounds were used to trash the former First Lady of the United States. We talked about that a little bit in the last show, but we're going to dig into a little bit later today. I 100% think they should not go. But where they will be tomorrow morning will be at a ticker tape parade, New York City throwing the first ticker tape parade for the New York Knicks ever. Now, last time they won a championship was in 1973. Before that, they won in 1970. But in neither case did they get a ticker tape parade. So this will actually be the first ticker tape parade for the New York Knicks. Historic. It's going to be amazing. Of course, we will be covering it live. You can come right to the Joy Reid Show channel and watch what's going on. You can watch the parade, and also our intrepid correspondents will be covering it for you. We'll be in these streets. Nitha and Wanj will be out there. I will be covering it as well. We're going to be giving you full coverage of what's going on tomorrow. Okay, so that is the housekeeping for this evening. So I'm so excited about the ticker tape parade. New York deserves it. They earned it. They clawed their way to victory, and they very much well earned that parade. So let's get to a little bit of a recap of what happened this past weekend, besides the Knicks finally getting that ring after 53 years. Remember when this happened last weekend?
Take it down! Take it down! Take it down! Take it down! Take it down!
Yes, when Donald Trump's name was ripped off of the Kennedy Center, where he had illegally added it because of his own ego and his envy of the Kennedys, just like he's envious of the Obamas. It took a court order and a federal judge to force him to remove it. But literally, once the name came down, you can see in the video, a rainbow appeared above Washington, D.C. And for a lot of people, it felt like a total metaphor for where it was going. Yes, I'm sorry, I had to add that at the end. That's from my Instagram post. But a lot of people also took the bringing down of that name off of the Kennedy Center, which is still covered with a tarp, by the way, because Trump is so humiliated and embarrassed, he won't take the tarp down. So he's like, if I can't have my name on the Kennedy Center, no one can see the Kennedy Center. But despite that, his name's still gone. And when that happened, there were a lot of comparisons that were made. Our friend Jim Acosta made the comparison to something that happened in 1989. And here it is.
Iron Curtain between East Germany and West Berlin has come tumbling down. East Germany announced today it is opening its borders, allowing its citizens to go anywhere they wish. The future of the Berlin Wall is now up in the air.
That was CNN's coverage in 1989 of the Berlin Wall coming down, a signal of the end of the communist bloc, the Russian USSR domination of Eastern Europe, which they had grabbed after they were our ally during World War II, which is all very strange. But then they took advantage of the fact that, Stalin had allied with the United States. They'd won the war along with us, and they grabbed Eastern Europe and tried to keep it. And then the wall came down. They tried to divide Germany down the middle with the Berlin Wall. That comes down in 1989. And Jim Acosta likened taking Donald Trump's name off of the Kennedy Center to that. There's also a viral AI fake clip of a man in a mask climbing up on the Justice Department where Trump has put his glowering, ugly visage, his face, and pulling it down. That is not real. If you have that, we saw it earlier today too. And I literally reached out to Jim Acosta to make sure, and also our wonderful Winsome, our wonderful producer, verified that it was not real. But people have that sense that we're having like a Berlin Wall moment, right? There's a vibe shift in the country where people are realizing that this guy is a fraud, and that maybe the emperor having no clothes is not being noticed. The moment that Trump's name was stripped off the Kennedy Center also likened to something that happened on April 9, 2003 in Baghdad. Let's take a look at that. And you can see the joy of Iraqis who had been, under the thumb of Saddam Hussein and his, minority regime since basically we put him in power. Let's not forget, it's all very complicated because Saddam Hussein was in power because the U.S. CIA overthrew the previous government and put Saddam in because they thought he would be a friendly dictator to us. So friendly that we sided with him against Iran when they went to war and gave him the chemical weapons we later accused him of having. But no matter, once we put Saddam Hussein in, he, of course, reverted to full dictator, oppressed his people, killed a lot of people, menaced a lot of people. And then we turned on him because then he decided, like Mossadegh had in Iran, he wanted to nationalize his own oil. And so we went, you got nuclear weapons, which he didn't, and we killed him. And we delivered him to his executioners. And it was an American that climbed on the statue, pulled down, first put an American flag over it, then pulled the American flag off, and then got a bulldozer and helped pull the statue down. But that moment was considered, sort of the liberation of the Iraqi people from Saddam Hussein's tyranny, which again was ostensibly not the reason we went to war with Iraq. We supposedly went to war with Iraq because they supposedly had nukes, just like we went to war with Iran for the same reason. It's very complicated. Later in the show, in the second hour, very excited, Ta-Nehisi Coates will be here to talk about all those complications and how those complications could reverberate onto a potential second presidential candidacy of one Kamala Devi Harris, who is very much considering running from all accounts. And he's going to talk about that. He has a great new piece in Vanity Fair. Very excited for Ta-Nehisi Coates to make The Joy Reid Show debut. That's in hour 2. Very excited. But the point of the matter that I'm making is it definitely feels like there's been a vibe shift in the country. People have now seen the emperor has no clothes. He's a scam artist. He said he was going to lower gas prices. He's raised them. He said he's going to make the economy better. It's worse. He said he's going to make grocery prices cheaper. They're more expensive. Everything he said he's going to do, he didn't do. What he is doing is grifting off of the presidency, enriching himself, turning himself into a billionaire, not based on his real estate prowess, which never made him a billionaire, though that's his supposed profession, but off of cryptocurrency and crypto schemes. To that point, the goons who were in the cage fight on the White House lawn, for which Donald Trump erected a cage for them to fight, they're getting paid in Trump crypto, not in real money. They're getting paid in Trump crypto. And given the fact that Trump crypto has lost $1.2 billion in market cap since it was launched when Donald Trump became president again, they're basically getting paid zero money. They're getting paid not in real money, they're getting paid in crypto. So he's even scamming them. And of course, since he owns part of UFC and made his purchase, became a shareholder in the parent company of UFC just before he launched this scam to have a private event on the White House lawn, which taxpayers pay for, private event, where they, by the way, broadcast an advertisement to get more marks to buy Trump crypto during the paid stream on Paramount Plus. So you could pay them too. So he's scamming his own people. And finally, even some MAGA people are feeling scammed and realizing it's all a scam. It was always a scam. Even the part about America First was a scam because Donald Trump is essentially doing whatever Israel wants. It's kind of Israel first. And so you're now starting to have a breach there too. We're going to talk about that with David Cay Johnston in just a minute. Because on that subject of the war, which Donald Trump started because Bibi the Butcher told him to, and because he couldn't stand that the black guy, the black president, got an Iran deal. Hold on, let me take a sip. He couldn't stand that the black president made an Iran deal, so he undid the Iran deal that the black guy did and did his own Iran deal that essentially puts us exactly where the black president's Iran deal had us. The Straits of Hormuz were open when we started bombing Iran and when Israel started bombing Iran and starting a genocide in Lebanon. Then the straits closed. Gas prices shot up. Food prices shot up. Price of everything that gets shipped through the water shot up. And now Donald Trump, they've released the supposed deal. It's exactly where we started, except that Iran gets to be $300 billion richer. They get full control of the strait. They get to be the toll collector. They get $300 billion of your tax money. And we are in exactly the same place we were when everything started, except Iran is more powerful, more popular, and they're still led by a guy called Ayatollah Khamenei. It's just a younger version of him who can live a lot longer because he's half the age, because it's his son. Let's listen to Senator Chris Murphy explaining it.
The cost of this war. American consumers are paying billions more in gas prices. There are families right now that are deciding whether they're going to be able to afford to send their kid to a summer program or fill their gas tank. We've had a dramatic spike in the number of farms who are declaring bankruptcy. Why? Because diesel prices have gone up by 50%. And America's reputation around the world is shattered. This has been a humiliating 100 days for the United States. Brian is right. The president doesn't want you to see this agreement because it is essentially a report card on what a disaster this war has been. It does bear repeating that none of Donald Trump's objectives have been achieved, and they're not even close to being achieved. Reportedly, Iran still has 70% of their missiles after a $60 billion bombing campaign. The Ayatollah is gone, but the regime now is more radical and more capable. The regime has proved that they can take America's best shot and survive. They have proved that they can control the Strait of Hormuz. And while no one has seen this agreement, and there is still some doubt that it will even actually materialize, it appears at the foundation to be a payment to Iran to open the strait. The numbers are fuzzy, but it looks as if there will be significant sanctions relief given to Iran so that they open the strait. Now, that is an abomination in and of itself, but it basically renders the future nuclear negotiations a failure in advance. Because if you have given up all your leverage just to open the strait, you have nothing left to try to get them to come to the table on their nuclear program. This has been an epic disaster for the American people. This war has been an epic disaster for American national security. America is weaker today because of this war. Iran is stronger. And while we want it to end, this agreement will be proof positive to the American people of what an absolute dumpster fire this war has been from start to finish.
Your daily reminder that the art of the deal was not written by Donald Trump. It was written by a guy named Tony Schwartz, who ghost wrote the book. So Donald Trump doesn't know how to make deals. Someone else wrote that book, and he barely got a chance to speak to Trump because Trump was too disinterested to sit down and couldn't keep still long enough to talk to him. So basically the stuff in there is stuff Tony Schwartz dreamed up. So everyone was like, well, I want Donald Trump to be president because he's a deal maker. No, he's not. His father made the deals that allowed him to inherit $317 million at birth. He's terrible at business, which is why he failed at the business that he literally chose, which is to be a real estate developer. He failed at being a casino operator in Atlantic City. He does not know how to negotiate. And he's so triggered by the fact that everyone can see that his Iran deal is worse than Obama's Iran deal, that during an appearance at the Group of 7 Summit of global leaders in Evan-les-Bains, France, Donald Trump, per the New York Times, denied that the U.S. was in a worse position than they were under the Obama deal, the JCPOA, denied that it was a worse deal than Obama. And he's so triggered by Obama. This is his quote. He said, and you know what the Iranians did? They laughed at Obama and they said he's a stupid son of a bitch. Really? No, they didn't. They said, we agreed to the deal, and we had Iran forestalling its nuclear ambitions from 2015, when President Obama negotiated that deal, until the stupid son of a bitch in the White House now broke that deal and started bombing Iran again and closed the Strait of Hormuz. And now we're paying Iran to reopen it. Read through the 14 points. CNN has them. None of those 14 points put us in a better position than we were under Obama. Donald Trump negotiated us backwards in time. Great job, Donald. Maybe we shouldn't give people who are sundowning control of our foreign policy. One last note. Donald Trump was also asked about the biggest and initial blunder, the first blunder that started this disaster of a foreign policy, as Senator Chris Murphy mentioned, and that is the bombing of school children. That's how we started off. We started off by killing school children in a double tap airstrike. Donald Trump was asked about that. Here's what he said.
Now that you're approaching a new phase in this conflict with Iran, can you now say whether you will hold anyone in your administration accountable for the strike on a school that killed more than 100 children on the first day of the war?
No, if it was a fault, and as you know, that's under investigation. It's such a strange question to be asked at this date, because you're talking about a long time ago, but nobody did that on purpose. I guess you'd have to say about them, what about the thousands of soldiers that they blew up when they opened their car door? What about the thousands of people that were killed by Iran? No, mistakes are made. The war is nasty. But I know it's under investigation, and I could have a report for you tomorrow. Or I would ask Pete Hegseth that question, because they have it under investigation, please.
Note that he did not call that man stupid or piggy. I just want to note that as we welcome our guest. Joining us now is our friend David Cay Johnston of DC Report. David.
Hello.
Hello. Another genius negotiation by Donald Trump. And did you notice, I did, that when that man asked him a question, he was offended by it, but he didn't call the man stupid?
Because he's a man. I mean,
Correct.
What do you not understand here, Joy?
Yeah,
he's a man.
I got
We're
it.
special. We get treated differently. And if we're white men, we get privilege.
There you go. There you go. So this failure of negotiation, he was clearly triggered when it was pointed out to him that we are in a worse position now than we were under the Obama deal. He called Obama a stupid son of a bitch, when obviously it's clear he's the stupid son of a bitch, no?
Well, whatever Donald says about other people, he's talking about himself. With some rare exceptions. I mean, he is, after all, not the world's greatest expert on 22 different subjects. But look, this is a complete and utter disaster that goes back to 2018, when Trump tore up the agreement with Iran, negotiated not just by the Obama administration and John Kerry, but backed by the Russians, the Germans, the French, and the British. And under that agreement, with unlimited examinations by inspectors who were in Iran, the Iranians were not working to develop a nuclear weapon. It was only after Trump blew up the deal and made it clear that he was in the general mood to attack Iran, which he didn't do till the second administration, that they said, yeah, maybe we need to get a nuclear weapon, because nobody's going to invade or attack a country with a nuclear weapon. That's their defensive weapons. They're not offensive. But Donald is so unknowledgeable that he thinks that Iran would drop a nuclear weapon on Israel. If they did that, it would invite immediate, massive retaliation. And so that was never going to happen. And we're now in the bizarre situation where you can trust the regime in Tehran to tell the truth more than the president of the United States. I mean, this is absolutely bonkers.
And you know what, David, if everyone could just sit with this for a moment. Hamas basically had ropes to scale a wall and the crude weapons used to kidnap 1,200 people. And in retaliation for them killing 1,200 people, Israel obliterated Gaza. They committed mass genocide across Gaza. They accelerated the extrication of Palestinians from the West Bank, and they are still doing it. And the idea that Iran would be so irrational as to drop a nuclear bomb on Israel. What do you think Israel would do if you dropped a nuclear bomb on them? They might drop a nuclear bomb on the entire Arab and Muslim world.
Well, so let's keep it clear what's happening here in the Middle East. Benjamin Netanyahu is trying to avoid going to prison. And he clearly doesn't care how many people are killed so that he does not go to prison. Now, he might, with his trial at the end of the day, be cleared. I think that's highly unlikely, but he might be. But he's not willing to run that risk. And it seems to me that if you look back over the last 40 years, so let's go back to 1986 and the bombing in Beirut when Ronald Reagan was president, killed 246 roughly Marines. We have spent so far more than $5 trillion on wars in the Middle East. The deferred expenses of that, people who will be 100% or are disabled veterans and the medical care they need, and the replacement of weaponry, we're looking at a total tab that's probably approaching $10 trillion. Now, during those same years, what have the communist dictators been doing in Beijing? They've been building the most fabulous highways in the world. I mean, they put to shame not just the US interstate, but the Autobahn. They have been building half the world's high-speed rail in a single year. They built more office space in Shanghai in 2005 than exists in New York City. They are buying up farmland in Africa and water rights and building ports, all without firing a shot at anybody. How stupid are we as a people that both Democrats and Republicans, we keep electing people to Congress and the White House? And I include Obama in this. I mean, Obama was a very cautious president. I think he unfortunately had to be about what he did. But the reality is we have this enormous military. And by the way, we can't afford Social Security, WIC for pregnant women and infants. We can't afford health care. We can't afford all these different things. But by golly, we have plenty of money, not just for war and more war and more war, but hey, we can take the reflecting pool in front of the Lincoln Memorial and turn it into a swamp full of algae. This is just insane. And I don't understand why American voters who complain all the time about taxes, why they haven't recognized that the spending side here is completely lopsided and out in space. And I have a suggestion for what we do with Israel, by the way. And criticism of the government of Israel is not anti-Semitism. It's criticism of that government. I think we should tell the Israeli government under a new president and a new Congress, if anyone attacks you, we're there with all of our military. We will totally defend you. Your borders will be secure if somebody tries to invade you. But we're not helping you with this mass killing and destruction in Gaza. We're not helping you with going into an independent sovereign nation, Lebanon, and destroying homes and rounding up people. And we're going to limit our support for you if you continue to allow settlers, Israeli settlers, to come in and attack Palestinians and nothing happens to them. We'll defend Israel's right.
I mean, that would require I just don't see either Democrats or Republicans doing it. I mean, that's a whole different lengthy
I agree with you. I'm describing the idea.
I can't even see a Democrat agreeing to that. Yeah,
it
would be right. And the reality is there's a bipartisan addiction to wars in the Middle East. We're going to talk to Ta-Nehisi Coates about this the next hour. That is, to me, bananas. It's both parties that are just addicted to these constant wars in the Middle East that get us nothing but being reviled by people in the Middle East. I mean, at this point, David, Iran, which is the former Persian Empire, they are not an Arab country. They are a Persian country. They are more popular on the Arab street than we are. We are hated. They are popular. They have become more popular. They have gotten more credibility. They have more fans on the Arab street, even though they are bombing some Gulf Arab countries. Well, it's crazy. Donald Trump, you're welcome. You did that.
Iran is the natural leader of the Middle East, but because of what we did with removing Mossadegh in the early 1950s, putting in the Shah, supporting him, creating all these enemies who hate us because of what we've been doing, we've created so much enmity that 1,000 years of hatred between the Russian peoples and the Persian peoples have been turned into allies. We need to fundamentally rethink, what are we doing here in the world? Why are we having our life expectancy shorten in the United States and stop growing when other countries are doing so well? For what? What are we getting for this? That is not on, I agree with you 100%. That is not on the agenda. It is not what's fundamentally being discussed. And I think it's part of the frustration that you see of support for Trump, because his supporters, by and large, are, as he loves to call them, the poorly educated.
Yeah.
And they don't understand policy. They're not big on economics other than their own, knowing what the price of gasoline is. What they know is life for grandpa and grandma was better than it is for me. What's going on here?
Yeah, that's right.
And Donald says, I alone save you. This is shocking. And you know, let's not miss that what happened in this these fights on the lawn of the White House, the People's House, especially the commentary at the end, the disgusting racist and homophobic and misogynist commentary by one of the fighters. All of that is a reflection of a terrible choice that Americans made. We chose this, and that is the whole point of democracy. We choose what we're going to do, and we have to live with the consequences of those choices.
And, you know, to go back to this, and to, you know, you are such an expert on Donald Trump, we have to lean in. I mean, Donald Trump thrived in the 80s when he was best friends with Jeffrey Epstein. And so what he feels, the only thing he feels he needs to deliver to his base are entertainments. And he thinks that Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, which was very popular when I was in junior high and high school, is still what will enthrall the American people. So he promises them he's going to make the reflecting pool look like an actual swimming pool. Let's look at the promise. You talked about the reflecting pool. He literally said it was going to look like a real swimming pool, which it's not. Okay, that's the promise.
Yep.
He thinks now, first of all, he thinks that is a flex, but it's a reflecting pool. You moron. It's supposed to be gray, so it reflects the Washington Monument. But here's what he delivered to your earlier point. Jason, if you could fire up what the delivery looked like. Like that, David. They've had to now treat it with agents to try to get rid of the algae that is now eating up the pool. Fox is claiming that's still swimming pool blue, though.
Well, they're gonna have a hard time maintaining that going forward. You know, I'm in just outside Washington to attend the annual Investigative Reporters and Editors Conference. I'm a former president of IRE. And my wife is going to go tomorrow to see the reflecting pool for herself. She just shocked at the awfulness of this. But, you know, remember, Donald Trump has no qualifications for any of these things. But before his frontal lobe dementia, before his age-related problems, he's been a con man his whole life. It's all nonsense he makes up. He doesn't know anything. And I just do not understand the absolute failure of huge numbers of Americans to say, oh, sorry, we got taken here.
Yeah.
There's still a third of Americans supporting him, maybe only 16% on the Iran war, but there's still generally a third of Americans supporting this unbelievably stupid, crass, incompetent man and his racist staff. I mean, removing Colin Powell's name at the Arlington Cemetery, where also my wife's going to go because her father was a World War II naval officer, distinguished officer. This is just beyond belief. But again, we're in a democracy. We chose this. Even if you didn't vote for him, the fact that enough people around you did means we chose this. And if we end up just completely destroying our country with these idiotic racists and misogynists at the top.
Yeah. And by the way, he's clearly ill. I mean, Jason has a picture of him asleep during the UFC entertainments. So this is a Caligula, but a Caligula that can't stay on his horse because he can't stay awake. His hand, meanwhile, is like cracking open. There he is asleep. Okay. The guy can't even stay awake through his entertainments. This is embarrassing. He can't do it. He can't stay up.
How does he go to sleep with all that noise around him, Joy? He did the same thing at the Knicks game. At the Knicks game, he fell asleep. Those aren't quiet events where you can sort of nod off. There's very serious problems here. But no, sorry, he's in the greatest health.
Right. He's in great health. 250 pounds of pulchritude. Let's show the hand, because this is odd. Maybe when the doctor comes on in the next segment, we can ask her about it too. But he looks like he's physically deteriorated. Not just, you can see the makeup over it, but it looks like there's a literal, like a bite mark in his hand. Like, are vampires biting him at night? Are demons eating him? Like, he's physically decrepit. He's morally decrepit. He's a racist. As you said, he's a misogynist. He's a monster. And yet for his people, he's a demigod.
Well, that's because he's a miracle worker. I mean, after all, there's no scar on his ear where he claims that he was shot. And that I will tell you, as somebody who had cancer surgery on one of my ears, I can show you up close. There's a scar there 20 years later.
That's right. Ask Evander Holyfield, who got his ear bitten not by a gun, a bullet, but by a person's ear, by Mike Tyson. If you see his ear now, it's still swollen and huge. Yeah. Somebody's saying he's biting himself. Before I let you go, how much will it trigger Donald Trump that he was not able to get any A-list stars to come to his? He was actually asking B-list stars, and even they wouldn't go to his America 250 continued extended birthday party, like our show. He's celebrating his birthday all month. But President Obama, who is opening his very pretty Obama Presidential Library, he's going to have Grammy, Oscar, Emmy, Tony, Golden Globe winners. He's going to have Bono. He's going to have Bruce Springsteen. He's going to have The Edge, also from U2, The Roots, Christina Aguilera, Jennifer Hudson, John Legend, Eddie Vedder from Pearl Jam, Mark Anthony, Common, Thames, and actress Marsai Martin. That's just some of the people that are going to be part of this grand opening for the Obama Presidential Library. How much will this trigger Trump?
Oh, a lot. I mean, Donald cannot be unaware that he is losing support, that he is held in lower and lower regard every day that he remains in office, but he has no way to escape. Donald will never resign. You're not going to see that happen. That's not who he is. And so he's going to have to find ways to strike out and to use other people like the fighter and the lawn of the White House to make these deplorable, racist, homophobic, misogynist comments, because Donald has nowhere to go. And because of Donald's racist view of the world, the idea that there is a black couple who are sophisticated, elegant, educated, and beloved is something he cannot process. It just does not process in his mind. And, Donald is not sui generis. He didn't appear out of nowhere. This is a reflection of deep culture in our society and our failure to mature into a society that recognizes that the color of your skin, the color of your eyes, your height, your body build has absolutely nothing to do with your character. Absolutely nothing. But if you have no character, and Donald has no character, no moral core, then all you can do is denounce, strike out, attack, send your goons to go after people, whether they are the FBI agents being coerced into investigating Gavin Newsom's wife, or they're the goons who are at the courthouse in St. Paul attacking people right outside the door. This is a terrible stain, but the longer it goes on without any serious pushback by the Republican leadership on Capitol Hill, the less confident I am that we will get past this. And we haven't seen yet what they're going to do for this election. But remember, they don't need to shut down all voting. They just need to, in enough precincts, enough counties, terrify people so they don't vote, threaten people, set up inspection points that are maybe a mile away, but the road you're going to go down to go vote, to interfere with this election. And he has to do that, or once the Democrats have control of the House and possibly the Senate, they're going to tie him up, as they should, 6 weeks to Sunday. should immediately investigate things like, was it really just a mistake from an outdated map that led to the deaths of those 140 some girls in Iran, or was it intentional? The 13 Americans who died, the Pentagon was told this facility where at least half of those people were isn't secure. Did they get them out of there? No. Was that because Pete Hegseth doesn't know what he's doing? Was it in the hope and that would be really sick, that this would enrage the American public? You know, what is it? And
I
continue to
have a theory. Well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you, but to your question, one of the potential answers is Grok. We now have some word that the Pentagon is using Elon Musk's Grok for targeting of missiles, which would be an even more horrifying development, that they're using the same AI app that's making nudes, fake nudes of people on the interwebs to target people.
We're in a real mess, but it's really important to not lose sight of the fact that we, the American people, chose this. You and I didn't vote for Donald Trump, but that doesn't matter. Of the people who turned out to vote, a majority clearly chose him after the January 6th effort to overthrow our government, which really tells you that a majority of voters who actually cast ballots hate the United States of America.
David Cay Johnston, I can't argue with you, because the reality is, if you really think about American history and the lost opportunities to reconcile ourselves with the sin of being a slave empire, and the fact that we've refused to really reckon with it and refused to deal with it in many, many, many ways, Donald Trump is the natural result of our failures and choices over 250 years. Unfortunately, he is America's just desserts in so many ways. And it's sad, but it's true.
Well, maybe someday we'll find something to argue about.
One day we will disagree. David Cay Johnston, I appreciate you. Have a great time in DC. Much love to your wife and family, and be well. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye, Joy.
Thank you very much. That's true. One day we will argue. David and I, we agree on most everything. Lots and lots and lots and lots of things. But it is sad. This might just be what America deserves. Let's note one of our other incredible sponsors who make this show possible. The Joy Reid Show is brought to you by our friends at Helix. Now, we have a wonderful king size sleeper that's got like a cooling function to it, which we ordered from Helix, which is fabulous, which is going to help us sleep better, because sleeping better is like goals, right? It is goals. And the benefits of Helix are not just that it's a high quality and durable mattress that improves your sleep, because they not only are high quality in the construction, but they also allow you to get a guarantee that it's going to work for you, because they offer free shipping, seamless delivery, and a 120-night sleep trial and a limited lifetime warranty. So if it isn't perfect for you, if it isn't absolutely ideal to improve your sleep and improve your life and make your body feel better in the morning, they will give you your money back. It's a Happy with Helix guarantee. You rest easy with seamless returns and exchanges. And that offers you a risk-free, customer-first experience designed to ensure that you are completely satisfied with your new mattress. This is an award-winning mattress, the most award-winning mattress brand. It's been tested and reviewed by experts at Forbes, Wired, and all sorts of other folks. If you want to sleep well, it starts with getting the right mattress. That is like fundamental to your sleep health. And sleep health is so important, particularly in these stressful times. If you want to try Helix, go to helixsleep.com/joy for 20% off site-wide, 25% off the Luxe mattresses, which is the brand that we have, and 30% off the Elite mattresses. That's helixsleep.com/joy for 20% off site-wide, 25% off Luxe mattresses, 30% off Elite mattresses, helixsleep.com/joy. Thank y'all for sponsoring this show. So let me show you all the poop diaper stud who mocked Michelle Obama by calling her a man.
So what? Maybe I was drinking last night. But who wouldn't? Who wouldn't be? I have a giant black man that wants to knock me out. He has the most knockouts in UFC history.
Hey, I've seen enough. Yeah, Josh Hoken. I didn't know who he was before this, but that's the man. Luckily for him, no one will ever accuse him of being a man. Joining us now is Dr. Frita Fisher, a quadruple board certified physician, nephrologist, and host of Dr. Frita Live. She reaches over 982,000 YouTube subscribers and 72 million plus views. She's the founder and president of Midtown Atlanta Nephrology, PC, and the medical director of the nonprofit dialysis unit. Hey, Dr. Frita.
Hello, hello. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. So let's talk about that. So this person, because I can't even call him a man because, ew, look at him. He was spitting up on himself, drunk as hell during the weigh-in. That disgusting, gross creature still beat another, maybe even more beta man, and then called Michelle Obama out of her name. Your thoughts on what that means, if anything?
When I first heard him call her out of her name, and I saw that Joe Rogan didn't say anything, Trump smirked, the audience laughed. Honestly, I first thought that it was AI. And then once I started seeing it repeated on reputable news sources and realized that it was real, and I saw the different people with the talking points, the political points, and how dare you. What I didn't see was the majority of people who are Trump supporters. I did not see them come out and denounce. You see a little handful of people with maybe some, just kind of some predictable statements. But honestly, what I thought was my personal feeling, how I felt my heart having palpitations. I felt my chest tighten. I felt personally humiliated as a Black woman, as First Lady Michelle Obama is. And then it took me immediately, Joy, to the data that we have. We literally have data that systemic racism, chronic discrimination, and also public humiliation. We have data that these things increase cardiovascular negative outcomes. And as I sat there experiencing those emotions, I know I'm not alone. I realized this is what happens. This is why so many Black people and Black women specifically have poorer cardiovascular outcomes when compared to other ethnic groups. This is why so many of us have increased strokes. It actually is real. And even the American Heart Association recognizes that chronic discrimination and systemic racism are associated with increased cardiovascular risks like strokes. We have data, and it's very upsetting.
And I wonder then how much worse does it become when somebody like, I don't know, Stephen A. Smith weighs in on the UFC blood sport and kind of ignores what happened. Let's just play that as apologies to the many chats. Let's play a little of Stephen A. Smith and a friend.
Great event that was put forth by the UFC at the White House in concert with the White House or whatever. It did a hell of a job. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
I was there, 4,000-seat arena. I gotta be honest, coming off the NBA Finals, where I was at multiple NBA Finals, better event than NBA Finals.
Wow.
Just it was a better event than NBA Finals. But the White House literally being right there, incredible.
I mean, first of all, the idea that was a better event than the NBA Finals, a completely corrupt, private pay-per-view event on our property with people beating the crap out of each other, blood splattering everywhere, Donald Trump sleeping through the whole thing, and then capping it off with Michelle Obama being called out of her name and called a man. And they are like, well, they apparently nothing happened that they saw that was weird. Yeah, how much worse does that make it?
It makes it just entirely worse, because you're not just talking about a group of people, Black women specifically, who are being, mistreated by others. You're looking at the people who are supposed to support us, people within our community, Black men who unfortunately sometimes seem to care more about power and money as opposed to really standing up for what is proper. They're talking about, right there on the White House lawn. Well, right there on the White House lawn is where not only was Michelle Obama disrespected, but where it's been the host of so many other Black women being disrespected, be it, Trump saying that Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson has a low IQ, or making up all of these rumors on Vice President Kamala Harris, saying that how she was able to get herself to the top, or if it's calling Representative Jasmine Crockett saying she has a low IQ, or disrespecting Black female reporters, like journalists like Abby Phillip, Rachel Scott, April Ryan, who was in there from the start. All of these other things have happened on the White House lawn, yet they're sitting up here completely ignoring the fact that our First Lady, Princeton graduate, Harvard Law graduate, has been misgendered, which of course is just a permission structure for Black women to have violence inflicted upon us. It's really, really quite sad.
Yeah, and it's interesting that that meme of Black women being masculine and manly all was sort of developed and grew up around the same time that slaveholders were raping Black women to such an accelerated degree that they invented light-skinned people. Like they made a whole new kind of Black people because they raped so many women. They were just systematically raping and then selling the products, selling the children, such that they were creating generation after generation of children who were mixed race, not because they were in relationships. These people were property and they were literally systematically ravaging them. And yet also disparaging them as lazy and dirty and terrible, too dirty to share a water fountain with, but not dirty enough to literally breastfeed your child for you. You know, it's like the dichotomy makes no sense.
It makes no sense, but it makes all of the sense, because the greatest trick of the oppressor is to convince the oppressed that they are not worthy, right? And it seeps into the self-esteem, causing, colorism even within the community. But to your point, yes, good enough to breastfeed your babies, good enough for you to have babies with, we're so undesirable and masculine and unattractive, yet we're good enough for you to get lip fillers to try to, mimic lips of Black women, good enough for you to get cheekbone implants, good enough for you to tan, good enough for you to get perms, good enough for you to have cornrows, where if a person from another community, not the Black community, has cornrows, then all of a sudden they're Bo Dereks or Kim Kardashians. All of this goes toward the stress that is felt when Black women, I'll talk about Black women specifically, experience this systemic racism and oppression and just dehumanization. And what happens, Joy, is that when you experience like public humiliation and systemic racism, things of that nature, it causes cortisol to spike. When cortisol spikes, it causes blood vessels to tighten. When blood vessels tighten, that causes blood pressure to rise. And of course, high blood pressure is a leading cause of strokes, heart disease. It's the second leading cause of kidney disease. And I am a board certified kidney doctor and a high blood pressure specialist. And these are things that I see every day. And it's important for people to understand that when you have these emotions, or when you know right before your eyes that you're experiencing discrimination or racism or the masculinization of Black women, it's not just you. So please don't allow people to gaslight you. This is documented, and the way you feel needs to be talked out, because we all see it, we're all experiencing it, even though, some folks want to act like it doesn't exist.
Yeah. Who seemed unbothered though? Michelle Obama. Michelle Obama and Barack Obama were opening his presidential library. Let me play a little clip of the opening ceremony. Yes, let's play that.
I am so proud of my husband. He's really messed up. I'm giving him some time because this beautiful skirt that my stylist Meredith Coop picked out, that is a portrait, my favorite portrait of my mom. He didn't know it existed until just a few minutes ago. Marion would have been so proud. She was so proud of her son-in-law and the man that he is and has been to our family, always dreaming probably way too big, but always pulling it off. Thank you for doing this for the South Side of Chicago. I love you.
I am a little shaken up by this because I love my mother-in-law, and she made a home for Michelle and Craig, not with a lot, but with a lot of love and hope and perspective. They represent, to me, what's best about this country.
I mean, in so many fundamental ways, Barack Obama is the anti-Stephen A. Smith, supportive of Black women, supportive of his wife. There's a part at the end where he says, "Thank you, baby," which was so cute. Yeah, and then there's also this photo, which we'll put up, of the beautiful portrait that was done by Njadika Akingili Crosby, the artist, of them at the new library. So that love and support that they're showing for each other is like the antidote, right? It's like literally bringing my cortisol down as I look at it.
Absolutely. And I'm not gonna lie, when I first saw what happened, I was like, ooh, Michelle Obama, please don't go high where they went low. but this is how you go
Please.
high. This is how you go high.
Yeah.
She's unbothered. Nothing that they say about her can take away her family, can take away her accomplishments, can take away that she's arguably the most popular first lady in history. And it's just going to be so important for us as a people not to allow the, you know, the humiliation, the systemic racism, the defaming of our characters, the misgendering, the masculinization of Black women, adultification of Black girls. We just have to talk it out. And, you know, in cases where people are getting like truly depressed, because I'll tell you, public humiliation, again, documented to show that it can increase anxiety and depression. If you're someone who is hearing these words and they're causing these different situations and they're causing you to be extremely stressed and depressed, make sure you consult with your doctor, you know, and certainly don't be afraid to go and get mental health. And I know that First Lady Michelle Obama is a huge advocate of mental health. So yeah, that made my cortisol go down too, Joy. That was
Yeah,
fun.
it did. Because I started furiously scrolling for Michelle Obama's clapback, waiting for her to take that man apart. Now, of course, I was petty. I'm Petty Davis. I'm like unabashedly petty. So I went on and talked about him because he does look like he poop his pants or like
I
he,
heard
you know,
you.
like he leave it on. I put it right on my Instagram. I'm like, I know I'm being real super petty, and Michelle Obama would not be proud of me, but I'm like, I'm gonna let her be mad at me if she's mad at me for being mean, because that man looked gross and disgusting and stanky. So I said it first, so she didn't have to. But when I looked for a response from her, all I found was these amazing clips of that opening and her leaning into her truth, leaning into her relationship, her love for her family, for her husband, and for this beautiful center that's going to give people hope on the South Side, on the South side of Chicago. So it's like
Yes.
Michelle Obama might be the antidote to the way that we're feeling, and she's part of our healing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree.
And that's why they're jealous of her. I mean, the right is so envious of the Obamas because they love each other in an inverse way to the way that Trumps hate each other. Like, it's clear that Miss Melania Trump hates him.
Joy, can we just talk about, I'm not going to even talk about our current First Lady Melania too terribly much, but I am going to say, can we just talk about when she completely plagiarized word for word the speech of Michelle Obama? If First Lady Michelle Obama is such an undesirable, why can't you even go get your original speech? The respect is there. And of course, the envy is there. It's so apparent. Like you said, the Obamas are unbothered, untouchable. And
yeah. Michelle Obama, for those of you who were too young or don't remember, created a program on anti-bullying called Be Better. And because Melania Trump is maybe illiterate, or maybe because this is her second language, she named hers Be Best. Be Best, which is poor English. It is. I find it so hilarious when I even think about it. It's literally atrocious English. Be best. You mean be the best?
I think her supporters, like the people who are around her, like her speechwriter, had to have known that speech was plagiarized. Whoever
She literally lifted the whole speech.
Like, does someone hate her? The people in the White House around her? I don't know. But it's just a stark contrast.
I think they hate her. I think they hate her like she hates decorating for Christmas. Why do I have to do it? It's so stupid. Why do I have to do it? I have to effing do it. She hates Christmas and they hate her. I'll put that on me. Dr. Frita is much nicer than me. I'm Petty.
Look, first, we're not going high. First Lady Michelle Obama is going to be mad at all of us.
She will. That's true. That's true. I don't want to get her mad at you. Are you planning on visiting the presidential library anytime soon?
I am. I don't have my date set, but I definitely want to go and get my kids together and just be a part of this historical moment. I'm so proud. It's just unbelievable. While history is being ripped down everywhere all around us, the Obamas are holding us up.
Indeed. Dr. Frita, you're also holding us up. We appreciate you so much. Everybody, please follow Dr. Frita. We'll put the link below and make sure that you guys are following her if you're not doing that already. Dr. Frita, stay strong, sister. Keep that cortisol down. Don't let the haters bring you down.
Okay. And can I share, in order to keep the cortisol down also, I do have a book, Under Pressure, a Guide to Controlling High Blood Pressure. And I just released my audio book. So if you go to drfrita.com, you'll have the Audible book done in my voice, which was a venture. But I talk about not only medical ways to lower blood pressure, but natural ways. And so that's another way to keep the cortisol down.
Ooh, okay. We're going to jump on that. drfrita.com. Go ahead and get your audiobooks. Y'all can, I'm going to do it. As soon as the show's done, that's what I'm going to be downloading too, because I need to keep mine down as well. Also helps you lose weight when your cortisol's down. Thank you, sis. Thank you very much, Dr. Frita. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right. There you go. So you can get your cortisol down. And look, I'm telling you, high cortisol is also a weight gain indicator. So if you get your cortisol down, if you're trying to lose weight, you got to keep your cortisol down. It also helps you get to sleep. And you keep your cortisol down, it helps you fall asleep. So we will put that in the link. Yes, we will. It's called drfrita.com. So just DRFRITA. There it is. It's up on the screen. Winsome, if you could put it in the chat as well, so people can click on it if they want to, and then hold on to that and get the audio book. That way you got, and we'll work on trying to get it in the store too. We'll try to get the actual physical book in the store. Didn't realize she had a new book out, so that's fabulous. We're going to chill and settle down. Says polka.com said, oh, I lower your blood pressure. Says, what is this? Tuba Sun God says, I lower my, I'm going to try. I do my best. All right, everybody. Thank you all very much, Dr. Frita Fisher. I want to mention that another thing that also will help you to feel better is get that blood pressure down, and getting that will help you also get your blood pressure down. While we're talking about getting your blood pressure down, our other sponsor, 120 Life. Now listen, June is when summer begins. Schedules change, travel picks up, cookouts, long weekends, family events. Life gets busy, and also the right wing acting daggone fool, getting that blood pressure up. And your health routines have got to stay locked in. High blood pressure does not take the summer off, y'all. Nearly half of all adults have it. Most don't know it. Most aren't doing much about it. And blood pressure, to the point Dr. Frita was also making, is the #1 risk factor for mortality. You don't want that. That's why June is a perfect time to stop guessing and start measuring. Before summer gets away from you, check your numbers. You want to make sure that blood pressure is on an even keel. You start a simple daily routine and actually do something to keep your blood pressure low. One of the things you can include in that is 120 Life. 120 Life is a once-a-day functional drink made from ingredients that help support healthy blood pressure. You drink it, then you check your numbers. For a lot of people, they see improvement in as little as 2 weeks. So try it for 14 days after checking your numbers. And after 14 days, if your numbers don't go down, you can get a full refund. It actually tastes terrific. It has like a nice, like beety kind of flavor. It's made from a blend of superfruit juices, fits in your normal life. If you're at home, traveling, trying to stay consistent during a busy summer. And the powdered version, if you want to pop that into your bag, so you don't have to check your luggage, right? If you're somebody who wants to take your luggage on the plane, do the powdered version. It's only got 1 gram of sugar. So it also keeps sugar low. Go to 120life.com. That's 120life.com. Use the code JOY or the code REID. Our code will get you 20% off. Try it risk-free for 2 weeks. If your blood pressure doesn't come down, you get a full refund. Go to 120life.com. Use my code JOY or the code REID to save 20%. Don't wait until next month. You got nothing to lose except your higher blood pressure. Go to 120life.com. Use my code JOY or the code REID for 20% off. Joy or Reid is the code. These statements have not been approved by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Okay, so welcome to hour 2 of the Joy Reid Show. If you haven't done it yet, please hit that like and subscribe button. We really appreciate it. Don't be a lurker. About 50 to 54% of people who watch YouTube shows actually don't subscribe. They just watch and move on. Don't do that. We want you to be a part of the fam. Just hit like, hit subscribe, also hit the little notification bell, and then hit all, so you'll always be aware when we're live. It's more fun being on live because you can interact with the people in real time. So we'd love it if you do that. Want to big up one more sponsor, and that's our sponsor, Remy. Now, Remy is one of those things that you need if you've got a very particular issue that can also keep you up. Like, we're on a health kind of theme on this show. Grinding your teeth, which is something, raising my hand, I do. And grinding your teeth is something you normally go into the dentist for, and they ask you, well, how do you stop it? A mouth guard is a really great way to do it, particularly if you grind your teeth when you sleep. And 350,000 Americans have turned to Remy as the solution to that. Remy night guards are the only FDA cleared and clinically tested at-home impression kit night guards on the market. Not only do they help prevent your teeth getting damaged from grinding, they also help reduce jaw tension and facial muscle strain, which will help your sleep quality. You get the same professional quality and comfort as a night guard from the dentist for 80% less of the cost by taking your own impression from the convenience of your home. Remy saves your impressions once they make them, so you can always get refills easily to your door. Now, here's how it works. After you buy it, your impression kit comes straight to your door. You follow the step-by-step instructions. You get your perfect impression. You send it in. Remy crafts and ships your custom night guard, and you get your night guard back, and you start protecting your teeth. Very simple, very easy to use. Anyone can do it. The instructions are clear, which is really important for me because, menopause. I need clear instructions. Protect your teeth with Remy today by using code JOY to get 50% off your new night guard with Remy Club. Subscribe and save. That's 50% off at shopremy.com/joy with the code JOY. Joy. Thank you, Remy, for sponsoring this episode. So we are talking a lot on this show about Donald Trump's kind of exposing himself and really exposing who he is and what he is so that the world truly understands it, which is a good thing because it is now a fact that more people understand that it was a huge mistake to give him the power that he has. But that is only step one. The next choice that has to be made by the American people is, where do we move on from here? Who should hold that office next? And what will they offer? What will they put on the table that is different from what we're seeing today, such that they can clean up the mess that Donald Trump has made, but also give people hope that there is any hope that the American presidency can be moral, can be effective at making people's lives better? Because there's a lot of doubt about that. I mean, I'm in New York City today where people are starting to feel good about at least city government being able to materially make your life better. That is Mamdani's sort of coup that he's pulled off, is that he's been able to show people that a government leader can actually materially make your life better. That's one of the great things that he's done. But the question is, do people believe a president can do that? And so there's a lot of talk. I would tell you, even my reporting is that most of the people in the know believe that Kamala Harris is going to run for president again. We know that her run for president, that 107 days, we interviewed her about it on this show, was a whirlwind, but it was also her attempting to run in a handoff from Joe Biden, who had one glaring mark on his presidency and his otherwise effective presidency. Very effective at domestic policy, very effective at rebuilding infrastructure, not so effective at communicating, because that's not his gig, he's not a communicator, and also not at all effective at getting the right to stop trying to destroy him and his son and accept the bounty he was delivering mainly to red states. But when it came to his international foreign policy, Joe Biden was a typical American president in that he was aggressive about the use of military power, and also, sort of strangely for how empathetic he was, completely blind to the pain of people in the Muslim world, completely disinterested in the lives of the Palestinian people and in their deaths, completely cold to them, and completely warm to whatever it is Israel wanted to do. And Kamala Harris got burdened with that. So at a recent conference at the annual Schwarzenegger Climate Initiative's Austria World Summit in Vienna, Kamala Harris gets asked, because a lot of people, including Trump, were claiming that if she became president, she would start World War III. Remember that? That meme was prevalent throughout the interwebs and even in these streets. So she was asked about Trump and Netanyahu's war in Iran, and this is what she said.
If you were president, you never start this war.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And let's be clear about this. Let's be clear about this. Thank you, Tim. Let's be clear about this. Whatever is being negotiated, this president is going to declare victory and will end up where we were after the JCPOA and call that a victory, the JCPOA that he withdrew from.
The Obama nuclear agreement. And so
Yes.
so you're not, I mean, that's your thought on this potential
Well,
deal
I have
this week?
more thoughts, but
Yeah.
that's not why we're here.
Yeah, sure.
So we can,
Yeah.
I would love to hear her more thoughts. She did expound on it a little bit more, but seeing Kamala Harris talk about the Iran war does cause one to lean into the questions about the opportunity cost of making the choice that, to David Cay Johnston's point, a majority of Americans made, as opposed to choosing her. It is a question that sort of remains unanswerable in many ways, of what would have been the difference had she been the person in charge. Now, it's clear that there would have been no reason to start a war with Iran if she were president, because we already had the JCPOA, and she wouldn't have pulled out of it in the first place. Maybe she'd have gone back into it. I don't know. But in a really terrific piece called "The Next Black President," one of the seminal thinkers, public intellectuals of our time, was one of the great writers of our time, Ta-Nehisi Coates, takes us through the history of American empire and asks the question: if a Black and Asian woman, the daughter of immigrants who came from countries that had been the victims of colonialism, came from colonial entities that had been besieged by Great Britain, right? If somebody, the daughter of two parents from that background, and who's also a woman, and a Black woman and an Asian woman, a woman of color, can she truly embody the imperial state? Now, this piece was written on the presumption that Kamala Harris indeed will, or at least could, run for president. The piece is called "The Next Black President." Here's a quote. "A Black presidency is a contradiction. It owes its power to a movement against racist state violence at home, but seeks an office which has always practiced racist state violence abroad." And joining me now is award-winning author and journalist Ta-Nehisi Coates. His books include The Water Dancer and The Message. He's currently contributing editor at Vanity Fair. And this is The Joy Reid Show debut, but always one of my favorite interviews. Ta-Nehisi Coates, welcome.
Joy, thank you for having me. I'm glad we finally made this work.
Absolutely, same here. So Ta-Nehisi, your piece was excellent, by the way, and I've cautioned everyone they should read it and take it all in. I've read it twice. Talk to me about this, because the idea of empire, and you go through the sort of brain-numbing sequence of American empirical aggression, and then saying you're going to land that in this lady's lap. What? Say more.
Yeah, well, I have to say one thing. First of all, I owe this piece to you, Joy. That's the first thing. If there's one person who inspired this piece, it really was. I mean, there's a famous clip now, as viral as they say, of you on CNN describing to people the history of American aggression towards Iran and the response. And what really stunned me about that was, first of all, I didn't really have a history down myself. Let me start with my own ignorance. But I don't go on TV and present myself as an expert on why the United States should go to war with Iran. But the people on your panel did. And it became very, very clear to me that they did not know the history either. It wasn't like they were disputing the points you were making. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or the history. They literally just did not know it. They did not know it. And I'll just say that what has happened in my life personally over the past few years is I have spent more and more time around people who live under the weight of this country's imperial ignorance. And I have asked myself, what I feel like is an existential question for us as Black people, for the struggle that we root ourselves in, for the ancestors that we feel ourselves tied to, for the progeny that comes after us, we feel ourselves tied to. And that is, what is the nature of our struggle? Is the nature of our struggle to, as Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley says in that article, bring others along with us? Or is the nature of our struggle to do, as so many other groups have done who have come into this country, and that is to become a part of the machine and to integrate, as James Baldwin once said, a burning house? You know where I stand on that, and what my thoughts on that. But probably over the past couple of years, that question has become more and more urgent. And the last thing I'll say is the reason why is because this is 2026. So we are going on 25 years now of Black faces that have been representative of doing great violence in the Arab and the Muslim world. We had Condi Rice. We had Colin Powell. We had, President Barack Obama himself. We had Linda Thomas Greenfield. We had Susan Rice. I make no condemnation, particularly of these people, outside of any condemnation I would deliver to anybody else. That's not really my point. But my point is, by becoming part of the machine, this is an inevitability. It is not that they have, greater or lesser moral character than anybody else. It is the nature of structure. And it was always my hope that we had come to trouble structure, not to just merely accept it.
Yeah, I mean, it is always sat a certain way in my spirit that it was President Obama that killed Muammar Gaddafi. You can think whatever you want of Muammar Gaddafi. He was represented as a bad guy. But if you go on the continent, a lot of people there revere Muammar Gaddafi because he was trying to bring Africa under one currency, and they saw that as a valuable thing to try to fight the West, right? You
and Troy, not just
go on, please,
not just killed him, had him dragged out of a pipe and sodomized and killed, and then his Secretary of State laughed about it.
Yeah,
like that was our message. That was our message to the rest of the world. Sorry, forgive me.
No, not at all. And that is after President Obama had gone to Cairo and given this beautiful speech about having to change the way that we interact with the Muslim world. that is the guy that then gets tasked with with this assassination, as you said, with a bayonet. I mean, they literally, sodomized him with a bayonet and then killed him. The Americans didn't do it, but we delivered him to that, pulled him out of a drain pipe so that could happen. Even with Saddam Hussein, you reminded me in your piece, in the Vanity Fair piece, Saddam Hussein was only in power because of us, because we overthrew the previous government, put him in, and we said, this is our guy. And then I do recall that when it was the Iran-Iraq war, we sided with Saddam, gave him the chemical weapons with which to kill Iranians, and then said, hey man, you got chemical weapons. It's like, you gave them to him. And then we topple his statue and we're the hero. But it is a strange thing to say for a Black woman, because I remember when Kamala Harris said, we're going to be the strongest military on earth. That's what she has to say, but is that what she should say?
Most lethal. That's what it was. It was the lethality of it. And I think let me speak first of all in sympathy. Because look, I get it. You're a Black woman. You know what I mean? Your name is Kamala. You know what they're going to say about you. The campaign that they're going to wage around. I am under no illusions, as to the weight that she was carried and the viciousnness, of the attacks that came her way, to continue to come her way. That is not in question for me at all. On one level, I am deeply. It hurts to have this conversation because I feel bad for it, right? Like on one level, I feel bad that this is the weight, you know what I mean, that you have to carry. But at the same time, it's like, what was the struggle for? And the fact of the matter is, any sort of ancestral consideration of this says that this is what we have already done. Look, Fannie Lou Hamer, who Kamala and the entire DNC cited as, she didn't have to say anything about Vietnam. You know what I mean? In fact, there were tons of voices within the movement that wished that she did not. Coretta Scott King, before her husband, in 1965, goes to New York, allies herself with other anti-war forces, and says, listen, I'm heartened that Johnson has such great sympathy for us, but how can he not have, sympathy for the children of Vietnam? She didn't have to do that. She didn't have to do that. And the SCLC was very upset that she did do that. So this is the tradition,
Yeah. And the thing is, if you think about, it's the harder route, right? Muhammad Ali giving up his title belt to say, I'm not fighting those men in Vietnam. It's the Fred Hampton route, which can be deadly. And it's the King route. As you said, King didn't get more popular when he turned against the Vietnam War. He got more unpopular. People hated him. And so it's like the idea of a Black, Shirley Chisholm did it. Shirley Chisholm was like, this is where I stand on people of color around the world. And you see, she didn't get very far becoming president.
Yeah. No, it's a danger.
So
Look,
if you think about where Kamala will go on, please.
No, I just wanted to. I was just affirming your point. I have no illusions about the danger of it and the weight of it. None. But Joy, if that is the case,
go.
If that's the case, don't hold your convention and shout out Fannie Lou Hamer. Like, don't shout out the person. Don't say my inspiration is the person that walked that route, because that's not your route. That's not your route. That's not what you're doing. That's not what you came to do. And so like I feel that while there may be a pragmatic argument, for maybe not, although I don't think it's a real one, but you know what I mean. If you want to make that argument, you can't then shout out the visionaries and the people that carry the burden. You can't have it both ways.
Yeah. The other thing that your article brings out, and it's something that you've taken, heat from at least from CBS News, from the current anchor of CBS Evening News, who had a problem with it. But the issue of Palestine is something that was a ballast around the ankles of Kamala Harris. Just whether they like it or not, they don't seem to be excited about admitting it. But you talk about some of the people that you and I both know who have been to the region: Latasha Brown, Tiffany Cross, people who've been there and said, oh, I see apartheid here. Joteka Edie, who saw it. They saw the apartheid just as you did. And so it's hard for, I think, folks like that to imagine. It was hard for me to imagine why Kamala Harris, who clearly has been to the region and knows the region, would not be more forthright in saying, this is one piece of oppression I can stand against, and I will stand against as president. I will stand for the Palestinian people.
I think a couple things, man. I think one of the things that was that I was reminded of by people in that piece that I probably disagree with on her ultimate stance, right? But who I you know, you learn from, especially, you know, your sisters, like even when when they land, you learn from her, right? So one of the things that I learned was that they're like, to understand Kamala Harris as an abstraction, in other words, as an individual first Black woman president, is actually the wrong way. You have to understand her as the result of a movement that began circa 2020, certainly has roots earlier than that delivered you your first Black Supreme Court justice, that delivered you your first Black woman, first Black woman was a Supreme Court justice, delivered you your first Black woman on the Fed, led to Joe Biden appointing a record number of Black women, led to, you know, all of these policies around that cut child poverty, cut Black child poverty, cut Black unemployment. These are real things, right? Like these are, like, people are not, you know, just, you know, making shit up and, you know, becoming cowards. And so, it takes a lot. It takes, like, that's a movement that folks have worked for, that stands on the shoulders of other movements. And you really want to believe that, okay, if we can get her through, once she's through, you know what I mean, she will do the right thing. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know that I came away from this piece thinking that. I came away from it thinking, of course, she would have been better than Trump. We all know that. We do know that. But that's not the bar for me. That may be the bar for my vote. And it was the bar for my vote. But it is, you know, the voting is not the end of my politics. So it's not the bar for my politics, you know?
Can you, having gone through this exercise of really thinking through how a Black president, because we've seen a Black president that did not really stand against empire, unfortunately, probably couldn't because he was the first. Can you imagine a Black president that could?
Yes. Yes, I can. I actually can imagine her doing it. I can imagine her. Because I think, like, one of the things that gets missed is, I can't tell you if she had affirmed the humanity of Palestinians, if, you know what I mean, she had, you know, done the things that, you know, I think a lot of us wished that she had done. I can't tell you she would have won. I can tell you she would have lost with honor, though. And I can tell you that how people felt about her going into 2028 would be totally different, because it would be, she lost over standing for Gaza. She lost on, you know, trying to prevent a genocide. And I think people would feel very, very different, you know, about that. But I just, you know, I go back to where we started this at the beginning, Joy. It takes an incredible, incredible amount of courage. And it probably takes a movement. Like, when you think about, you know, her getting there, you know, it probably takes like a lot more. And I don't, you know what that, actually I do. What am I saying? I don't. The circle that was around her, the circle that, and not just because she's Kamala Harris, but because she was the Democratic nominee and because she had, you know, such a short amount of time. Thus, the circle that would have been around any Democratic nominee at that time was not a circle that would have reinforced affirming the life of Palestinian people, and thus our own lives, by the way. I got to get that in, and thus our own lives. And I don't want to, you know, talk too much, but I'll come back to that in a moment.
No, I want you to say more, because I think that's the disconnect. Even some of the people in the chat, there's become a disconnect because a large plurality of Arab Americans and Muslim Americans voted for Trump in anger against the Biden-Harris administration. There's still a lot of anger. You and I talked about that. A lot of anger, residual anger at them from a lot of Black voters. But fundamentally, the rights of the Palestinian people, it is about us.
It is about us. It is about us. And let me just, if you'll bear with me, Joy, I want to lay this case out. The first thing is, what we were effectively asked to do was to look away from a genocide. And maybe people don't like that word, but I will just give you the numbers as you know, laid out in the piece. The most lethal campaign this century against children that had ever been waged. And we were being asked to look away from the fact that our tax dollars was doing that in service of apartheid, a system that we ourselves have experienced. Now, I come from a people that uphold Coretta Scott King as a hero. I come from people that uphold Fannie Lou Hamer as a hero, that uphold Martin Luther King as a hero, that uphold Malcolm X as a hero. And so, like, these are the best of us. And so the first question I have to ask is, ancestrally, as those of us who are rooted in a much larger struggle, What part of the game is this? Like, where is the alignment there? Secondarily, I have to ask practically, the fact of the matter is maybe you don't think Gaza is that important. Maybe you think you have, the ability to not really care about, what your tax dollars are doing at this moment. The fact of the matter is the rest of the country is moving another way. You know what I mean? Like that's the fact. Like the real truth is that there aren't enough Arab Americans to cost her the vote, but there are enough young people that care about this to cost her the vote.
That's right.
So the very practical politics, are going. So people say to me, Ta-Nehisi, you know what I mean? Why would you support, this group of people or this struggle over your own? But I say to you, why are you tied to this ideology that you would sacrifice your struggle over your own? Like, you think you have the luxury of ignoring this? You do not. You do not. War is at your door. And then thirdly, morally, I have to ask you, those of us who are concerned about what we saw ICE doing in Minneapolis, those of us who are appalled when we see ICE officers, rappelling from Black Hawk helicopters on the projects on the South Side, separating people by race. Brothers and sisters, where do you think that came from? How do you think that started? You think that started with us? Like, do you understand the history of where ICE and the Department of Homeland Security comes from? And so this notion that you can stand aside while they make war on another group of people and that's not going to come to you, you're out your damn mind. They are coming for us. They are coming for us. Our enemies are looking around the world, making alliances. They're looking at Hungary, making alliances. They're looking at Europe, making alliances. And we have this notion that we can stay here and we can shut our eyes and we will be okay. And let me just amend that and say we don't have that notion. Because in fact, there are a lot of Black people who do see this. You know what I mean? In fact, we were the most concerned about that. So let me just say that there's some of us who have that notion that we can just close our eyes and wait for war to come to us and deal with it, like that. I hear this notion, man, we're losing everything. They're taking away our right to vote. They're doing this. They are. It's true. It's true. But if you're fighting on one front and they're fighting you on 10, I mean, I don't see the practical win in that.
I don't either.
See the practical politics in that.
And there's a one-word answer to why that fight is our fight. And the answer is Palantir. Back when enslavement was taking place, they would perform experiments on enslaved Black women in order to create treatments and, ways in which they could treat white women, right? And
That's
now
exactly
the people being experimented with to death, which we were, are Palestinians. If you don't think that they practice clearing Gaza to show how you could clear Nigeria if they wanted that land, or how the South Africans cleared the Kikuyu and the Xhosa off of their land, they practice on them, and Palantir works for both them and ICE. When they're killing them over there with drones, they now learned with precision how to kill Palestinians, and then they know how to kill Americans in Minneapolis and in New Orleans and wherever they want, because it's the same company. And they're just using them as the experiments the way they used to use us. That is who Palestinians are. They're the unloved, uncared for people of the earth that the world has decided are useless and nameless and nationless. And you can do anything to them. And then once they're done doing it to them, y'all don't think they're going to come here and do it to us?
You think they're going to stop there? You think they stopping there? Like, when is that? When has that ever happened? You know what I mean? And so, look, I sympathize with the perspective because, it's a lot to carry. I get it. It really is a lot to carry. You know what I mean? You feel yourself under assault, every day in your own community. And not only that, let's just acknowledge this, right? Like, people who I and you are asking us to be sympathetic about come to this country and treat us away, right? Like, they treat us away. That is not great. You know what I mean? And they themselves are not always in solidarity with us. I see that. I see it. You know what I mean? And I know it is a huge, huge ask. But I don't have a version of love and care for the people out of which I come, the struggle out of which I come, the community out of which I come, the ancestors on whose shoulders I stand, that does not, allow me to say the hard thing,
Yeah. And this is where SNCC was. This is where we were on South Africa, which most Black Americans at the time had never been to. But we were taking up the struggle of Black people far, far, far away because it was the same struggle, because apartheid there was apartheid here. And, it's interesting that, when Black Lives Matter started, it was the Dream Defenders that was the original group. And the Dream Defenders was started at FAMU by a Black young man and a Palestinian young man. It was the two of them that started it. And so there's always been, people were holding Black Lives Matter signs up in the West Bank and Gaza because they saw from their end that it's the same struggle. That hip hop was a foundational part of the early Palestinian struggle in the last 10 years. They see the struggle. And as you said, when people come here, the first card you punch is anti-Blackness. Everyone's taught that, but they're not taught that by us. They're taught that by the same people trying to hurt them and us.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. Listen, look, there is a comfort in a kind of cloistering yourself. You know what I mean? And Blackness itself has a kind of warmth. I get it. You know what I mean? And so, look, there certainly is a feeling in our communities, because, we are the most segregated, right? And so, we can go home and be perfectly happy, you know what I mean, with each other. But what I'm trying to say is that there are wolves at the door. There are wolves at the door. And the fact that right now the bombs are being dropped on somebody else, it just doesn't mean they're not coming for you. They always come for you. And the second part of that is, look, I just want to say on a human level. During the election, I went before Arab American audiences. I went before Palestinian American audiences, Muslim audience, and I was very clear about, who I was voting for and why I was doing it. And I stand by that. I stand clear in my vote. But look, I got to tell you, man, I sat in rooms where people said things to me like, 200 members of my family in Gaza are dead. I just did not know how I could preserve my own sense of human decency and say, to save us collectively, you now have to vote for a member of an administration that was responsible for that. I didn't have that in me. You know what I mean? I couldn't get to that place. And when I thought about it, I was like, well, does that mean, you know what I mean? I'm willing to see this country delivered into the arms of Trump. And as I thought through it, what I realized was, no, what it means is that if we have gotten to the point where we feel like our survival depends on telling another group of people that they have to watch their families be destroyed, we've done something wrong. Somewhere we've gone off track.
Yeah.
Something like we kind of have lost the plot. Like, actually, we should step back and examine ourselves.
Abolitionists at the time were not saying, okay, they're doing slavery, but right. There's no but. Like if they
there's no but. And the people who were saying that, you know what I mean? The people who were saying that, like, we don't hold them in high esteem. We think they're terrible, immoral people.
Right. Right. I sat in those rooms as you did. I sat with people who came, to a book event or something, and wanted to thank me for saying, because people weren't saying anything. I think you and myself and Mehdi Hassan and like two other people, and Ayman Moyadeen, maybe the four of us, and would sit and hold my hands and say things like that to me too. 100 of my family members are dead. All my cousins are dead. My parents are dead, I was like you. I couldn't have lived with myself if I had ordered and demanded those people to vote, as much as I was very clear that I was for Kamala Harris and was, eager for her to be president and thought she would have been a fantastic president in so many ways. But for me, the problem is not so much her, it's the party. The Democratic Party is as married to this Israel over everything, Israel no matter what, Israel no matter what they do, no matter how many people they kill. The Democrats were as married to that as the Republicans. And so it would take a really strong Democrat. It would take a Mamdani style event, to get a Democrat to say that they weren't getting down with that. But to me, I, going forward, cannot vote for a Democrat who does not pledge to end this relationship. This relationship needs to end. There's a nuclear armed expansionist power. They don't need our money, and they definitely won't get my vote. That's just where I'm at.
Joy, did you see Hillary Clinton's answer to the Trump question with David Rim? Did you see this?
Mm-hmm.
I
Please
look.
Say more for those who don't know.
I mean, Hillary Clinton was in an interview the other day, and obviously there may not be a human being alive who has more reason to hold Donald Trump in low regard than Hillary Clinton. But the one area that she praised Donald Trump on was on his Gaza plan.
Yes, she did. She praised the Abraham Accords, which I'm like,
she also praised the new one, like the 20
and the new one. Yes,
he praised the new one too, which is absolutely, But I raised that, as bad as I think that is, I raised that to actually buttress your point, which is about the party itself. Like I get that certain people feel a kind of anger, towards Kamala, but the history of politicians and politics in America is not necessarily one of great individual courage against systems. In fact, what it is movements have been built. Like Abraham Lincoln comes out of a thing. You know what I mean? It's not that, look, he was great and everything, but to subtract him from the actual movement that he was part of misses what actually happens. I mean, Johnson becomes this remarkable president in terms of civil rights, largely because of the demands that were being put upon it. It became untenable.
That's right.
It became untenable. And Kamala Harris herself becomes vice president, first Black woman to become vice president, first woman to become vice president because of movement.
That's right.
Organizes and demands it.
Yeah, that's right. And hopefully the movement will try to shift the Democratic Party. I don't see it on a wholesale level. They're too scared. They're still scared. I don't think any of them have endorsed Mahdi in the leadership. So it's a longer conversation.
I think it's going to be hard to get through I think it's going to be hard to get through the primary, though. I really do.
Agree. Oh no, I agree. I've made the prediction that I don't think a pro-Israel Democrat can get the nomination. I don't see how, because I don't think they'll have the momentum, and I don't see how they win. Because if the choice is the lesser of two evils, you're going to get what you got before, which is the largest group of voters are the people on the couch, and they vote to stay the hell home, and that's what happened. And it'll happen again. The piece is called "The Next Black President." I highly recommend you read it. Read it from the beginning to the end. Just the parts about Kennedy's part in the violent empirical project will blow your mind. You will understand why Malcolm X said the chickens came home to roost, because I didn't even remember half of the stuff that this is what Ta-Nehisi
I didn't know it. I didn't know it.
Yo, bruh.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like every president
he was right.
is more...
Malcolm was right.
Malcolm
as usual.
was always right. Ta-Nehisi, thank you for all that you do. I appreciate your voice more than you can possibly know. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Joy. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Y'all, please get the book. You can get his book in his latest book, The Message, in the Joy Reid shop. I would highly recommend you get your hands on it because it is so good, and it talks about his own journey to the Middle East, where he himself was able to see with his own eyes what that apartheid system looks like. It changed fundamentally the way he thought about the region and about the history. That is the book that he wrote, that he was actually on CBS morning show talking about when he was shaded, not even shaded, I would say defamed, honestly, by Tony DeCopel, and basically called a terrorist. And you until you really wrap your mind around the horrors that we ourselves are funding in the Middle East, you cannot understand. There's some people in the chat who are talking about the selfishness of the pro-Palestinian voters. No, if 100 members of your family had been killed, me telling you to vote for somebody that was part of the administration that did it would actually be me being a horrible person. I wouldn't order you to do that at all. What I would say is that I can tell you that the alternative is worse. But that's a moral decision that I can't make for people who are losing their literal entire families. Thank you, everybody, to enjoy that conversation. A conversation with Ta-Nehisi Coates is always, always, always the best conversation. Let me get in one more thank you to our incredible sponsors. The Joy Reid Show on tonight is being brought to you by the Freedom from Religion Foundation. As America approaches its 250th anniversary, we're having a bigger argument about what this country is and who it is for. Because the United States began as a rejection of monarchy and divine rule. The founders created a secular constitution with no religious tests and a government that's supposed to be accountable to the people. That framework helped make expanding freedom at least possible in a very flawed country. But today we are seeing growing efforts to blur the line between church and state in education, in public policy, and in the broader culture. And those shifts do not affect everyone equally. The Freedom from Religion Foundation is working to protect the First Amendment because it protects everybody's freedom of conscience, including the right to believe differently or to not believe at all. If you want to support this very important work, go to ffrf.us/joy or just text my first name, Joy, to 511-511 to join or learn more. Go to ffrf.us/joy or text Joy to 511-511 now. As we move forward toward America's 250th birthday, this is not just about celebrating the past. It's about deciding what kind of future we are building. Text Joy to 511-511 to learn more and join. Text fees may apply. Okay, so I really enjoyed talking to Ta-Nehisi. I love talking to him. So Donald Trump and his ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, former governor of Arkansas, do not quite agree on which of our two countries owes its existence to the other.
My job to represent the importance of Israel to the United States. This is just another reminder that it is your heritage without a doubt. But Minister, it is also the heritage of the United States. Without Israel, without the Jewish Foundation, there would not be an America. We owe our very existence to what happened.
We wouldn't have, if it weren't for the United States of America, with me, because Obama was the opposite, Israel would not exist right now. Israel would have been blown off the face of the earth, 100%. And every smart person in Israel knows that. Okay, thank you very much, everybody.
All right, Dementia Don. The answer is neither of them are correct. Israel literally was founded in 1948, and the United States, after the 1776 revolution, was founded in essentially 1778. So it is an incredibly monumentally stupid thing. How is it even possible, Mike Huckabee, that the United States would not exist without Israel? That's just dumb. And Donald Trump, no, Israel would not have been blown off the face of the earth. By who? Iran does not have nuclear weapons. And the countries that do have nuclear weapons aren't going to blow Israel off the face of the earth. You're just being obedient to Bibi. This is why we are in a war we shouldn't be in. Joining me now. And also, this is also an issue in MAGA. A lot of them are going, yo, I didn't know that we were in this thing for Israel. Joining me now for our every third Wednesdays segment on countering white Christian nationalism is our friend Robby Jones, award-winning author of the New York Times bestselling The Hidden Roots of White Supremacy and the Path to a Shared American Future, White Too Long, and the End of White Christian America, the president and founder of the Public Religion Research Institute, PRRI.org, and also my friend. Hi, Robby.
Hi, Joy.
So
wow.
How weird is it, right, that Mike Huckabee thinks that the United States would not exist without Israel?
Yeah, I was trying to work out that timeline in my head as you were talking. Yeah, no, I mean, it's hard to even know where to start with that sort of a timeline. Yeah.
Yeah, but Trump's timeline, I think, gets to a little bit about the things that you write about. Is that Christian nationalists, and I'll take the white out of it, just Christian nationalists or fundamentalist Christians in general believe that you have to basically ally with Israel and effectively constantly support them or the country will be destroyed, right? Like that is part of the belief system.
No, that's right. Yeah. I mean, particularly among the kind of old school Christian right that Mike Huckabee is a part of too. But there is there's this theology, and you and I have talked about this before, but it is really important to remember that I think sometimes people think, oh, well, that sounds like a story that should resonate really well in Israel. But if you really understand the theology this does not end well for Jewish people. This story, it is very much a Christian narrative. It is not a Judeo-Christian narrative. It is a Christian narrative, and it's an evangelical Christian narrative. And at the end of the day, the alliance with Israel is a very instrumental and short-term one. It's about fulfilling some biblical prophecy so that Jesus can come back to earth again. I mean, and then every knee will bow to Jesus, and all the knees who do not bow, including Jewish ones, will not be saved. So that's the narrative. So there's this kind of short-term confluence of interest, but it diverges pretty quickly. Once you kind of get this kind of very short run alliance achieved, the wheels fall off very, very quickly.
Yeah. No one in Israel survives. Okay, let's just give you the to get to the point. No one in Israel survives this unless they become Christian. Let's talk about
a Christian dominionist story at the end of the day. Yeah.
Exactly. So let's talk about some of this new data. You guys have some new data out because we are heading into the America 250. Donald Trump has tried to have a big concert that kind of flamed out because no A-list stars would be there. He did the UFC fight for his birthday. He's doing all the things to celebrate America 250. But as we approach the 250th birthday of the country, I pulled a few of these slides. The first one is about national pride and the belief that God has granted America a special role in human history. Talk a little bit about that, because it doesn't seem like there's a lot of pride in America's democracy or the economy.
No, that's right. I mean, we asked about a number of, a half a dozen things about whether Americans had, pride in a whole range of things. And across all of them, you've got them here: economic achievements, special role in history, the way American democracy is working in the world today. And essentially, there was not any of them that the country as a whole said they had a great amount of pride of it. At best, we were getting like half the country saying this. And then these very big breaks, as you can see in these kind of talking points here, between Republicans who were, yes, we should have pride in our 250 years history, proud of being an American, but they really are out on an island by themselves on this front. That you have, and this is really the story of where we are as a country now. You have Republicans increasingly pulling in very extreme ways away from the center of the country, and independents and Democrats more closely aligned on this front, and deeply disturbed, by what they're seeing in the country today. And I think that really is the, if we're thinking about a big picture thing, it really is the sense of, it's not just polarization. It's not just that we're divided. We shouldn't really be thinking in that lazy way. It really is that we have one political party that's been taken over by the MAGA movement, is moving further and further away from the rest of America. Like, that's the story of where we are at America's 250th anniversary.
We were talking with Ta-Nehisi Coates about, apartheid. It almost feels like polling in the United States would be like polling in South Africa during apartheid, where white South Africans would be on a completely different island, solo, feeling one way about the country, and everyone else, colored and Black, would feel completely differently because they were the only ones enjoying the spoils. But in this case, they're not even enjoying the spoils. The economy is terrible. There's no one enjoying the spoils. It's crazy to me that they're still feeling this way. But we'll go to the next slide, because this is to me, kind of a very fundamental question when it comes to the way people feel about it and what attracts immigrants here is this idea of the American dream. The fact that the American dream has really declined among most people, among Latinos, among AAPI people, and among women and young Americans. Say more about that.
Well, that's right. So, and this is remarkable because, we asked about this just a couple of years ago before Trump came onto the scene, and we saw, numbers that were 5 points higher among the public, 10 points higher among some of these subgroups. So this drop really has taken place over the last couple of years here. And, and this is also kind of a fundamental, sense of how the country is doing, this basic idea, right, that if you work hard, you'll get ahead. It's about optimism. It's about the kind of promise of, an economy that works, for people, like that they can see a life and a road ahead of themselves that makes sense, that they can kind of plan around. And this kind of disillusionment, again, among younger Americans, among women, AAPI, Latino groups. And I would say this, that typically in public opinion polls, we ask questions about this. It has been historically true that Latino Americans have typically been very optimistic. And even Latino Americans who, by many other measures, education levels or economic outright income levels are still like lower on the socioeconomic spectrum, they were still fairly optimistic. And we're really seeing that dampening now, you know, maybe in some pretty obvious for some pretty obvious reasons. We're seeing that dampening among Latinos. That's what really stood out about this piece to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's depressing to think that, you know, the thing that is the kind of selling point of America is kind of going away as a true selling point. Let's talk about somebody that is actually gaining a lot of support, and that would be the Pope. Pope Leo is very popular. Talk about that.
Well, in the report, I should say all of these results are on the PRRI websites, prri.org. It's right there on the homepage. We actually have one of my favorite charts in the report is a butterfly chart where we have favorability of Donald Trump on one side and favorability of Pope Leo on the other. We just break it down like all the way down, you know. And I mean, really, there's only a couple of groups, and it's essentially Republicans and white evangelicals where Trump outscores Pope Leo. But really almost across the board on all the other demographic things. So, you know, I was thinking about this UFC fight motif. And, you know, if you kind of think about a metaphor and you were going to pit Pope Leo and Donald Trump together on a favorability contest, it'd be over with in one round. You know, it is really no contest here. And so, you know, he and Vance have very particularly picked fights with Pope Leo, you know, and on his turf, even not even on politics, even Vance scolding him about he should be more careful, even on theology, which you know, for a Catholic convert to say that to the Pope, the sitting Pope, is quite something in terms of hubris. But it just goes to show that, like, you know, really across the board, with very, very few exceptions, I mean, President Trump's, you know, favorability rating, you know, in this new poll again is 34%. In the country. Yeah. And this is also notable too, that just popped up here, that his drop, you know, his base is with him. But if you look here, what's notable is that independents, true independents, ones that neither lean toward Democrats or Republicans here, 21-point drop just since 2024. And probably even more notable than that, the independents who lean Republican, and, you know, what the political science literature suggests is that those people almost always vote for the party. They'll say they're independents, but if they lean Republican, they are a pretty sure Republican vote. His favorability now is underwater with that group, and it's down 17 points just over the last 2 years.
Did you catch JD Vance on The View yesterday? Did you catch it?
I did not, alas. Yes.
But I mean, there is this attempt, I think, by him to try to mitigate Donald Trump's disfavorability, that things that are in that chart, by trying to effectively argue that we just missed it, that somehow we have misconstrued everything Donald Trump has said. When he's insulted people, called people piggy, called people stupid, when he's attacked the Obamas, it's all just us getting it wrong. We just don't see it. We're just missing it. Even on immigration, he tried to claim that they have effectively a normal immigration policy. And he says to Whoopi, well, you know, you may disagree with the way we're implementing it, but we're just implementing the law. And he tried to argue with Whoopi Goldberg and Sunny Hostin, who really laid him out, that no, Black history hasn't disappeared. We celebrate Black history. It was such a strange thing to watch him attempt to gaslight The View.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens on Juneteenth. I mean, last year Trump ignored it. He did not issue a proclamation, you know, last Juneteenth, and in fact complained on social media, on Truth Social, that it would cost the country millions and millions of dollars in lost productivity. Right, that was mostly what he said about Juneteenth last year. And let's not forget, if we're talking about immigration and part of the whole, particularly refugee process, right, is that there could not be a clearer, loud, it's not a dog whistle, it's a loudspeaker about where you know, that we have a very abnormal and just straight up white supremacist immigration policy. Who are the only people that our refugee system is letting in to the country these days? Like white Afrikaners who are claiming white genocide is happening. And Trump is like making these claims along with Elon Musk, you know, and that's who we are letting in the country. Not people from Afghanistan that help U.S. troops, you know, overseas, Not all kinds of other people have legitimate claims to asylum, but they shut all that down, put white Afrikaners at the front of the line. I mean, you can't get more plain than that.
In the time that you've been, that you've had, that the Public Origin Research Institute has existed, have you seen this country in a more kind of openly white supremacist posture?
No, I mean, I just mentioned dog whistle. I mean, we used to talk about that, that in the wake of the civil rights movement, that this kind of went underground a little bit. And we had a whole cottage industry of, Paul Manafort and other people kind of coming up with, you would say busing, and, instead of using the N-word, all this kind of coded language. No. And I mean, I was born in 1968. Certainly in my adult lifetime, I've never seen anything like what we're seeing now, just in terms of just overt white supremacist motivations just out there on the surface. Like I said, this Afrikaner thing, the purging of people of color, just willy-nilly from, government, from the Department of Defense, from across the government. It's a very, very clear pattern that we're witnessing here. And, it's not even a matter of interpretation anymore. It's really a matter of facts just right in front of us on the ground.
And the fact is that if you go all the way back to the very beginning, it has always been rooted in a specific white Christianity, which is, what I, in all of your books, that has been a very clear message, right? That it's been very clear that it's a racialization of religion, and that the white supremacy part is almost always tied to the Christian part. These aren't like white supremacist atheists, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or non-religious people.
And the role that Christianity has played, and I do this a little bit more, in my new book Backslide that's coming out in the fall, and talk about this more in depth. That what Christianity has really done, it really has provided the moral cover for this white supremacist agenda. I mean, let's not forget that, if we're thinking about the big, broad history of America, I'm actually in Mississippi this week visiting my folks where I grew up, and it's always a reminder that, man, this history is not that long. I mean, most political scientists, and if you're looking at the country, don't really think of the U.S. having a true democracy until 1965, right? Because what we had was kind of a white Christian republic, or democracy for white Christian people. And it was defended that way. And I'm here in Mississippi, and one of the big words, that got used when Reconstruction, the first civil rights efforts after the Civil War, were overthrown, white Christians took a word from their theology to describe their victory in doing away with the first efforts of civil rights for African Americans, and they called it redemption.
It is stunning to think of the misuse of language and the misuse of religion. Talk to me about this new piece that if you've written a new piece on this, I believe you've written a new piece on this that might be and wound up on my Substack. You talk about what you're writing these days and what we should be thinking about.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's a clue to it. And I think more and more, the analysis is right in front of us. We will obviously keep doing the analysis and, keep kind of pointing out the contradictions. But in some ways, I think it's maybe helpful that we are having this debate about who are we as a country? Who do we want to be as a country? And I will say that some of the data that we have in this new poll is showing the distress that the country is feeling over the direction the country is going. But it's also showing, I got to go back to Lincoln's first inaugural address, where he made this reference to the better angels of our nature. And he kind of tied that to our democratic aspirations. And he gave this on the eve of the Civil War. And I think we're in many cases at that point, like, are we going to go back? Are we going to follow the better angels of our nature? Are we going to finally try to realize this imperfect, attempt at having a full pluralistic democracy? And what the polls are telling us is that we are not living in a 50-50 country. I mean, I think this is really helpful. We are living in a country that's about a third of the country that wants to take us back to this vision of this white Christian nationalist country where white Christians are kind of citizens of the first order and everybody else is somewhere further down the pyramid. But that's not the vision of 2/3 of the country. And it just is the case that our politics have kind of warped it here. But if you ask, like, do we want, we asked Americans, like, do you want to live in a country that's like an explicitly Christian country? Or do you want to live in a religiously pluralistic country? 2/3 of the country says we want to live in a pluralistic country. If you ask people about whether, even like a hard question, like, do you worry that Donald Trump's a dangerous dictator, right? Who's going to destroy American democracy? We now have 6 in 10 Americans. They say they are concerned. And it's a majority of independents. It's a super majority of Democrats. It's most religious people in the country who share this fear. And so I think that the real key is, and I think this is what we were about to be thinking about, is we've got to get people to the polls and vote, because that is where the country is, right? And if we can get that expressed at the polls in the upcoming, midterms, we can, in fact, reclaim, the better angels of our nature. We can reclaim these ideals in the country that we're going to be talking a lot about over the next few weeks. We can do it because the numbers are actually there, but it does mean everybody's got to show up and make their voice be heard.
Amen to that. Robert P. Jones, aka Robby Jones, at PRRI.org. Go on, you can peruse through the data at your leisure, which I love to do. It's always so much fun. If you're a data geek like me, it's something you want to do. Robby, thank you very much. I appreciate you, man. Have a great rest of the evening. Thanks. You. It's real, because again, the largest chunk of voters in America are the couch people. The people who do not vote at all always outnumber either of the groups that vote Republican or vote Democratic. And as folks in the chat said, it's not even a majority of Christians that believe this stuff. It's a small claque of white Christians, a small percentage of them, and they just run everything because they're the most vocal and they actually vote. So we just need to outnumber them. We don't have to change their minds. We don't have to convert them. We don't have to even talk to them. Just outvote them. All right, before we get out of here, let's do our moment of joy. So among the Knicks players, because of course we gotta keep talking Knicks until after that parade tomorrow. Among the Knicks players, one has stood out not just for his skill as a small forward and shooting guard, but also for the sheer adorableness of his family. One day before the Knicks' first ever New York ticker tape parade, ladies and gentlemen, our moment of joy is Josh Hart and his wife, Shannon Hart, who's also was his high school sweetheart, so cute, and their twin adorable sons, Hendrix and Hayes, who love to steal the show. Roll them.
I've seen their relationship. I've seen the work that they both put in to get to this point. I hope you have that mic off. But
Guys, right here. That's a smile.
And Hendrix and Hayes, and also their parents, are our moment of joy. Congrats once again to the Knicks, and don't forget, you guys can watch coverage of the New York Knicks epic ticker tape parade tomorrow, starting at 10 a.m. right here on the Joy Reid.
Getting back to the basics, grassroots level. Let me dig a little deeper with the shovel. Plenty can't tell the forest from the trees, and I'm hard to detect, like a black hole in the dark. Injustice anywhere, it's a threat to justice everywhere. Let me make this clear, I got a bone to pick, and I'll never fear the threat of poverty. They don't want to talk about it, they rather party, so I'm a real talk about it, for sure.